Well, just 10 days left until the election, and Hillary Clinton once again under investigation by the FBI. We learned last night, and it threw this race into turmoil. How are Democrats responding? Joining us now is Fox News contributor and Democratic strategist Richard Fowler. Richard, it's great to see you this morning.
Morning,
so
Tucker.
we learned that apparently tens of thousands of relevant emails, presumably containing information that should not have been public, wound up on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Is there a pure distillation of the recklessness with which the Hillary people and Hillary herself handled information than this?
Well, I think we know that this was reckless. I think the FBI Director Comey said this when he dismissed the charges against Hillary Clinton. What makes this story so problematic, in my opinion, Tucker, is that here's the thing. None of these emails are actually from Hillary. We found that in reporting last night. These are emails that are from Huma Abedin to other members of the State Department that were on Anthony Weiner's personal cell phone. Mind you, I think the facts are pretty clear here that Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner are married. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure most people share phones.
I mean, the facts, in fact, aren't clear at all, and we don't know that at all.
But,
no,
but we do know.
That, but it doesn't make it true. We actually don't know what's in these emails. We have no idea.
No, that's not true. I think there's a lot of reporters have already confirmed that there's no Hillary Clinton emails here.
Okay, look, there has been no confirmation from the Department of Justice, from the FBI, from Hillary, or from anybody that this is true. Some reporters said it on Twitter. Look, think of the things that we have believed to be true over the last 6 months that have turned out not to be true.
The FBI said that these emails are none of these emails are from Hillary Clinton. I think that's been pretty clear.
The FBI
I said reporters who have sources in the FBI
I'm just saying, look,
said
we don't know.
And number two, and most importantly, Tucker, in this whole scenario, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Green Party, Independent, Tea Party, I really don't care. With 11 days before this election, I think the American people deserve to know. The American voters deserve to know what are on these emails, and I think it's time for the FBI to say what they have.
Okay, what the American people deserve to know is that justice is impartial, and the people are not treated differently because they're more famous or richer or more powerful. That's the first thing they deserve to know. Second, they deserve to know whose fault this is. And I'd be interested in your take on this. Who's to blame? Is there a right-wing conspiracy under Loretta Lynch in the Justice Department? Is the media somehow putting a thumb on the scale for Donald Trump? I mean, is there anyone to blame other than Hillary Clinton?
No, I don't think there's a blame to go around. I think what we need to see here is the American voter deserves to see these emails. Mike Pence, the vice presidential candidate for Donald Trump, said the same thing yesterday. The American voters deserve to see what this is because we know this is not going to end in 11 days, and people will be voting in 11 days, so they deserve to know this.
Well, the timing is, of course, terrible. But the most important thing, the reason people come to this country from other countries is because they believe everyone who lives here is equal under the law. And so don't you think that calls on Twitter and from the mob and from interested parties to hurry up this investigation are sort of the opposite of what we need? We need to know that justice is being meted out fairly regardless of the political timetable, don't we?
That's a fair point, Tucker. But I think with people getting ready to vote in 11 days, right, and Donald Trump professes to this, yesterday the FBI was rigged, today the FBI is not rigged. I think we'll figure that out at the end of the day. But what the voters deserve to know here is what the FBI has. And instead of saying we're going to open up investigations, which they never do, we would have never known that Anthony Weiner was under investigation because the FBI never talks about their investigation. So this is unprecedented for the FBI to begin with. Right. So what I think needs to happen now is they need to show the American people, the American voters, the independent voters, the undecided voters, what it is they have so these voters can make an educated decision about this election.
Yeah, I think they may be on a different timetable. Their main goal may not be getting Hillary elected, so they may be
No, it's not about getting Hillary or Donald Trump elected. It's about the truth.
Richard, thanks a lot for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to
We're back now with the Fox News Alert and a brand new poll out this morning from ABC News and Washington Post showing Donald Trump trailing Hillary Clinton now by just 2 points. Last week, Trump was down 12 in that same poll. So the big question now is how will the bombshell news affect undecided voters? Joining me now is a panel of undecided voters from across the country. Tess Figaro is an independent voter and former Sanders supporter. Ricardo Garcia is an Army veteran, small business owner, and registered Republican. And Katie Burak is a financial planner, independent contractor, and registered independent. Good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
All right, I want your reaction to the news yesterday. Tez, you say you've never been more undecided about who you're voting for ever before. How did the bombshell news yesterday impact how you're thinking about things?
Well, I think it just once again shows, the games that are played in politics, to come out with this type of news 10 days before the election, and now Hillary Clinton pretending to be so transparent, was saying, let's just get it all out. She's had the opportunity to do it before. So even though I'm an undecided voter, I'm pretty decided on the fact that the system is rigged and politicians have continued to play games with me and other individuals. So the bottom line is this: deplorable super predators, needy Latinos, and us basement dwellers will either be sitting at home or voting for other candidates.
Yeah, you're speaking to an anger that I think a lot of people would sympathize with this election cycle. Ricardo, what about you? How are you thinking about things?
It does affect me in regards of everything. I'm very undecided right now, but we have to wait and see what happens. I truly believe it might be a deciding factor
With this investigation, but it sounds like we may not know anything until maybe well after this election. So how is that going to impact your vote?
Well, right now it's all about, especially for the Latino community and being from Puerto Rico, everything that has to deal with Puerto Rico and the economic struggles of Puerto Rico will decide my vote.
All right, Katie, how about you?
For me, the news is very important to the election, and I'm surprised that it did come out this close to the election, but I'm not sure that it's going to swing my vote one way or the other. I think there's a lot of unknowns around it, and I think it's a wait and see at this point for me.
Yeah, what do you need to hear between now and then? Because I talked to a lot of undecided voters about this election. They say, you know what, my opinion changes by the week, it seems like. At some point I want Hillary Clinton, and the next week I want Donald Trump. What's going to change your vote between now and then?
I am the same way. I feel like I'm always flip-flopping between one or the other, and it seems like all the news that's coming out, it's just one dramatic event to the next, and I'm not sure that one more dramatic event will make that decision for me. I feel like I just need to trust my gut when it comes down to it.
Tez, is that how you're feeling? Do you go back and forth still?
Well, I mean, I go back and forth with the frustration of still wanting to see the emails, still wanting to listen to the speeches that Hillary Clinton gave. I'm not really so much interested in another promise, because we've been listening to promises year over year that have not been delivered. Just pour out the facts and let people decide then. And I just really think that undecided voters, most of them will be staying home in the basement, as she calls it, the basement dwellers. And that will be unfortunate for Hillary Clinton. So we'll just have to see, but we can't trust the polls, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, Ricardo, as you said, you're waiting for more information to come out about this email scandal. We may not have that. What's ultimately going to impact who you vote for?
Veteran affairs. I'm a veteran, and I truly believe that there's not enough out there from either or candidate in regards to growth for veteran-owned businesses, and that's really going to set apart who I vote for.
All right, well, 10 days left to go. Tez Figaro, Ricardo Garcia, and Katie Brooke, thank you for being here this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. A Fox News alert now. A brand new poll out this morning from ABC News and Washington Post shows Donald Trump trailing Hillary Clinton by just 2 points. Last week, Trump was down 12.
Here now with his reaction is Trump campaign senior communications advisor Jason Miller. Great to see you this morning, Jason.
Good morning.
So, of course, you're going to say this is a game changer, but I mean, it really is a game changer, isn't it?
It's a really big deal.
From your point of view.
It's a big deal, but we'd seen a lot of movement even before this, earlier this week, with the Obamacare news coming out, with the selling of Clinton Inc. to the tune of $66 million. We had seen huge movement in the polls earlier this week, and in fact, we added on New Mexico, and now we're also going to Michigan on Monday. We're on offense now, and that's trajectory of this race has really changed.
So is that the plan, offense? Because, as others have said, when your opponent is shooting themselves in the foot politically, let them shoot themselves in the foot politically. You don't need any extra help. Is that the strategy?
Well, one of the important things to keep in mind here is the map is a lot different for Donald Trump than it is for previous Republican candidates or recent Republican candidates. Trump has the ability to reach out across party lines, to bring on independents, to bring on folks who've been impacted negatively by this economy and get them into our camp. Now is the time to go and get those votes.
Yeah, and this comes at the end, as you mentioned, of a bad week already for Hillary Clinton. We're getting new dumps every day of these WikiLeaks, some of them quite troubling if you actually read through them and see what is going on, what has gone on for years. I do wonder, though, if people are fully understanding, if it resonates with folks, as they think about who they vote for.
Well, here's what we know, folks, what does resonate with them. When they see their health care premiums spiking, when you see Pennsylvania being slated for a 53% increase, or Arizona being slated for a 116% increase, for many, this will become a difference of can they pay rent or can they pay for their health care. And this is where people realize, oh, wait a minute, what's been going on this past 8 years is not the direction that we want to go. This is where people who don't follow politics every day look and say, it's time to make a change.
So you're saying of these three stories, Hillary under FBI investigation, the Clintons selling political access for millions, or Obamacare revealing itself to be a total disaster, Obamacare's number one?
That's the one that has the direct impact on people's lives, where you see how does it impact me, the voter. The Obamacare news is huge. But what the Doug Band information, the 66 million, that reaffirmed what everybody's been thinking. And it reminded them whatever's going on behind the scenes, whatever they're saying in private, whatever these paid speeches and open borders and all this stuff in private. And then yesterday with this FBI news, that they're reopening this investigation. I mean, think about how remarkable this is. 11 days out, we're now at 10 days out. 11 days out, the reopening and investigation. They must have found something big.
Well, this 11 days is a good point, because this is when those undecided voters who maybe, Trump has very high unfavorables, Hillary Clinton has high unfavorables. They're sitting back, they're saying to themselves, maybe I'll just sit this thing out. They actually go to the polls. Where do you see the undecided, the independent undecided voters moving in these last 11 days?
Well, the independents and undecideds are really looking for a change, and this is a change election. You see upwards of 3/4 of the country think that we're going on the wrong track, and they're looking for someone to put it back in the right direction. And that's where Mr. Trump's message of optimism, of economic growth, securing our borders, renegotiating these trade deals, these are all policies that can help American voters. And even talk about going on offense. Mr. Trump has had a very clear message, much different from Republicans in recent cycles, of being a president for all Americans, with his plan this week for an American urban renewal, rebuilding the infrastructure, school choice,
He's
jobs.
going to Michigan. Can he win Michigan?
Yes. Absolutely. We show the race. We show the race very tight. A couple other developments. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Look at what Hillary Clinton is doing and saying. Last Saturday, Hillary Clinton was in Pennsylvania. This coming Monday, she'll be in Pennsylvania again. Pennsylvania is supposedly one of the bluest of the blue.
That's a great point.
Mr. Trump's putting in play. And the one other thing I'd say, too, the Clinton campaign went up with an ad buy in Wisconsin yesterday. Now, their spin was...
That usually shows where they're concerned.
Well, they're trying to say it's to help down-ballot Democrats. No.
No, you're right.
So don't just listen. Look at what the Clinton...
They are focused on Pennsylvania. That is true.
It is.
It's weird, too.
And keep in mind, with Pennsylvania, it's primarily election day voting. It's a late-breaking state. Right. We're going to be there a couple of times between now and the election. Mr. Trump has a great chance to win Pennsylvania.
Jason Miller, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jason.
Crazy.
When you do this 11 days before a presidential election and you don't provide many details, but details are apparently being given by the FBI to the press, this is very, very troubling. And we hope that the director, and we really think that he should, give a clearer accounting of exactly what's going on right now.
As of this morning, the FBI is now reviewing new emails, apparently, related to the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server, the one she kept while she was Secretary of State.
Yep. Joining us now is California Congressman Darrell Issa. Sir, thanks for being with us this morning. Good to have you.
Morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. And it's an interesting remark that was just made, because they didn't seem to mind when, just before Congress recessed, the FBI director ended the case and basically said there's no indictment, which was a huge benefit to Hillary Clinton.
Right, and now they're all upset about it. Many people shocked by this news yesterday, including, it seems like, James Comey himself. How big do you think this is?
Well, I think earlier there was a segment on that said it all. Most voters have decided they are ignoring her criminal type activity and they're voting for her, or they've decided that she and the Clinton Foundation and Bill Clinton's $66+ million of related fundraising personally for the family to the Clinton Foundation, all of that simply says they're in it for the money, and let's not have them getting billions while in the White House and selling out America. Or they're in the other camp and they can't take this gruff, unconventional politician, if you will, starting politician. And it's a tough decision. I think the American people are used to a more genteel and more honest set of candidates,
right.
and they're having to choose between somebody that's not genteel and somebody who's clearly unreliable as far as dealing with the truth.
Well, so the problem for Trump with a lot of voters is they're not sure what they're going to get. They think he's volatile, and if he's elected president, what's going to happen? And I think that's helped Hillary a lot, that perception. But all of a sudden you have Hillary laboring under the same perception because she's under FBI investigation. And so aren't voters going to say, you know, I was going to vote for her, but I don't know what's going to happen? I mean, could she get indicted as president? Nobody wants that chaos.
Well, nobody wants that chaos. But, Tucker, I think if we look at it the way we should look at it, I hope we will, do you want somebody who puts their financial well-being first, as Hillary Clinton did all the way back with cattle futures and $100,000 she made from no investment? This pattern that they've done for years, is this what we want in the White House? Regardless of what you might think about their politics otherwise, is this what you want? Or are you willing to take a chance on a politician who you kind of know who would be around him, but you don't know that much about him? And I think that's very tough for the voters. I think in California, where already almost half of the voters will have voted by Monday, it's making less difference than it would have if it had come out sooner.
Congressman, I want to ask you about the news this morning and breaking overnight that Jim Comey had broken from Attorney General Loretta Lynch, apparently making this decision on his own, didn't consult with her. What do you make of that angle of this story?
Well, I think it's the appropriate thing, and for this reason. Earlier, when he made the announcement that he would not be seeking an indictment, he talked about his team, but his team included Justice Department. So in a sense, Loretta Lynch, even though she denied it, she kind of got the ability to influence the decision not to refer charges. In this case, it is purely a matter of his integrity. Is he making people aware that there is more there? And I think that's why it was an individual decision by the FBI, where earlier it was Department of Justice.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there.
Mr. Chairman, thanks a lot.
Thanks for being here.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Congressman.
So we want to bring now our friend Geraldo Rivera, roaming correspondent for Fox, among other things, a licensed attorney anyway. Geraldo, thanks for joining us this morning. So it seems to me, among the many other interests we have in this, maybe our chief one is preserving the sanctity of American justice, the idea that everyone is treated equally before the law. That maybe is the most important thing. And isn't it fair to say that Hillary Clinton really is getting the kind of treatment any of the rest of us would get if we were embroiled in a scandal like this?
Well, to reverse what Michelle Obama, good morning, everybody, what the First Lady of the United States often says, when they go low, we go high. In this case, it's the opposite. That's going high. I think that you've got to go low first. This is a sleaze-a-palooza. This whole election has just deteriorated into something beyond imagining. First, you had Donald Trump with the allegations of serial groping that almost derailed his candidacy. The guy was on the ropes. And now you have this historically horrifying sleazebag disgraced congressman, Anthony Weiner, who's sexting with 15-year-olds allegedly, and it's his laptop that is at the center of all this. I was absolutely shocked by what Director Comey did. I think he was covering his ass, excuse my breakfast language here, in an epic way. He had been beaten up by Bill O'Reilly and by Sean and by so many others for choosing not to convene a grand jury, not to indict anyone regarding the First Lady's private email server. He was beat up by the right, by the Republicans. Now, he's their hero, and he is being beaten up by the left and by the Democrats. I think that he was in a tough spot, a very, very tough spot. Here you have these emails. What the hell is he supposed to do? I mean, historically, the Bureau has these protocols where you don't get involved in elections, but there was just so many of them, and I cannot believe that a preliminary read of this treasure trove hasn't revealed at least some very, very big questions that have to be resolved in Director Comey's mind. So here we are, and I think that this has a historic impact.
Yeah, if you were writing a TV show, you honestly couldn't come up with this plot. It is just that absurd and that crazy. And now people are wondering, though, what was in these emails for James Comey to come out 11 days before this election and do what he did. The Democrats are obviously, as you said, upset. They want more information here. But it does make you wonder, Geraldo, how big is this? It seems like it has to be quite substantial for him to come out when he did.
Well, you know, Abby, here I agree with you. But here you have, today we're 10 days away from the election. Soon we'll be a week away from the election. At what point are they parsing through this bundle of now we're thousands, maybe tens of thousands of emails and saying this one, this one, this one? Are they going to be able to really, in any kind of responsible way, release, abide by the requests of both the right and the left now that we find out more about what this is about in specific terms? I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to do it a week before the election, 5 days before the election, 3 days? At what point does the Bureau have to say, trust us, we're investigating, don't vote based on this? Or, I don't know how in the world at this stage of the game, having violated this unwritten protocol about the FBI not getting involved in elections, how they make this better now. How do you do it? I have no idea.
I mean, the political fallout from this is enormous. And there was arguments over the summer about there being a constitutional crisis. Even Judge Jeanine saying, look, he's not going to want to have James Comey on his hands a constitutional crisis, which is what he may actually end up getting. So if this goes through, she ends up being prosecuted. Play this out, Geraldo. Does Tim Kaine become the first president from Virginia in a long time? I mean, how far down the rabbit hole do we go here?
Well, I think, Clay, you're jumping a couple of steps ahead right now. This is Huma Abedin's laptop that she, in some colossal misjudgment, shared with, Carlos Danger. So it's not about Hillary's email so much as it's about Huma Abedin's laptop in this separate Anthony Weiner investigation. There's not even any, as far as I know, statements that these are Hillary's emails. Did Hillary, for instance, email Huma Abedin, Kim Il-jung has his A-bomb ready to shoot at Seoul, don't tell your husband? I mean, I can't conceive that, and yet there must be something here.
But
let's say
isn't that the point?
Now let's take it.
You said it was a colossal misjudgment for Huma Abedin to share a laptop with Carlos Danger. She married him and had a child with him, and Bill Clinton presided at the wedding. So the Clintons knew that she was married to this very irresponsible, creepy guy with a history of very reckless behavior, and yet Hillary is still cutting her in, the wife of Carlos Danger, on, top secret government information. Like, isn't that itself reckless?
Remember, the Clintons also attended the Trump's wedding. There's a lot of
They're big into weddings.
They get a lot of wedding invitations. Yeah, let's assume for a second. Let's take it that there's some clear violation of federal law, which I doubt to the bones of my body. The reason I told Eric Bolling I would bet a year's salary that nobody was ever going to be indicted, and I said that beginning a year ago, is that unlike what many partisan analysts say on TV, these are crimes that specifically require intent. Mens rea, really you have to intend to reveal America's secrets and then cavalierly violate that law and then reveal them. That's the difference between General Cartwright and General Petraeus and what happened with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Cartwright admits, or now he admits, that he gave secrets to reporters. Petraeus admits that he gave secrets to Paula Broadwell. They say they had the intent, and they did it. There's no allegation of intent here. I doubt they can find
No, but the person is not,
intent.
as a factual matter.
So they're going to go through. They're going to go through it like this. They're going to go through. All right, here's 10,000. Is this one? All right. Does this one? Do you think this says intent, or does this? I think that it's preposterous to assume that there's going to be an indictment. But there has to be an investigation.
Everyone who is sitting in jail right now for violating our secrecy codes has not admitted intent. We can establish intent without an admission, as you know. You're a lawyer.
In fact, we had the mother of one of those Navy.
Give me an example of how you do that.
Well, you do that with emails. I mean, look, the fact
like
that
Manning.
she
What
knew,
about Manning? Gives it to WikiLeaks. That Manning. I mean, he gives it to them. Here's the gift. This is the intent.
But Geraldo, this morning on our show, this morning on our show, we had Kathleen Saucier and her son, of course, in the Navy, took 6 photos inside of a submarine. He kept those photos to himself. No evidence he ever shared them. And then he's serving 1 year in federal prison as a result of that.
I don't specifically know the intent of what happened to those photos. Taking a photo inside a nuclear submarine, it seems to me, duh. Is this appropriate that you're taking pictures? This isn't that. This is a lazy Secretary of State who, for her own convenience and to prevent embarrassment of what she's talking about creates a private server, which is unprecedented.
Right, and
to
the bigger
prove
question
that she intended to violate espionage acts, I think, is really
well, and the big question
and if
here
you're asking
too.
me, as you're
well, the big question too. Go ahead, Geraldo.
No, Abby, I didn't mean
well, I just think the big question
when
here.
I step on you, I know I'm being ungrateful.
You're saying, but the big question in all of this is what this means for this election, right? What is the impact going to be when you have just a few days left to go, and you have 40% of the population saying they're independents? How does this impact their vote?
You had Trump coming on with this extraordinary comeback from the dead. He's fighting, he's scrapping. People are saying he's over, he's done. ABC's got him down 12. This one's got him down this much. And he's fighting back. And as he begins his comeback, his surge, he gets this huge gift. This could be what determines who the 45th president of the United States is. I mean, imagine, Carlos Danger determines our next president.
We knew it was going to come back to him. Some of us knew all along, didn't we, Geraldo? It's all about Carlos Danger.
Oh, we'll leave it there. Geraldo, great to have you on this morning.
I need my old daytime show.
And a DNA test.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Geraldo.
And we're here on a Saturday morning. Thanks, Geraldo.
Gosh. All right, our coverage of the FBI bombshell.
Donald Trump sounding off on the FBI reopening its investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails.
For all of the people that have suffered for doing so much less, including just recently 4-star General James Cartwright, General Petraeus, and many others, perhaps finally justice will be done.
Well, many others. That's what we're about to get to. Until now, there has been a double standard for Hillary Clinton when it comes to these classified documents. One man thinks so. U.S. Navy sailor, that's Christian Saucier. He went to jail for taking photos in a classified area of a submarine back in 2009. No evidence he ever shared those photos. Saucier's mother, Kathleen, visited her son in prison yesterday as the news about Hillary Clinton broke, and she joins us now. Kathleen, good to see you this morning. You hadn't planned to visit your son yesterday after you learned about this news, right?
No, we had a scheduled visit. We were going, myself, his wife, and his daughter, 1-year-old daughter, were going to visit, and I heard about the story breaking from someone that sent me a text. So I had about 15 minutes with my son before I was asked to be on Risk and Reward last night, and I was able to let him know that, you know, as Donald Trump said, possibly justice will be served. I'm still not convinced there isn't a double standard, so I'm hopeful that people will step up to do what's right and hold Hillary Clinton and her staff to the same standards they hold all American patriots in the United States.
1 year in prison for mishandling classified info is what your son got. What did your son say when he learned of the news about this latest revelation about these emails on Huma Abedin's computers and Anthony Weiner tied to all of this? What did he say to you?
What he said to me was, and I'm going to get tearful a little bit, was, you know, Mom, I thought I stepped up to join the Navy to serve my country, but maybe this is how I'm serving my country, is raising awareness of the double standard so that all people like myself and others who proudly serve, as well as other patriotic Americans, will be held to the same standard as those that should serve and protect us, such as Hillary Clinton is attempting to do by running for President of the United States. We started a Facebook page, American Patriots Against Double Standards, and it's all about other people and their story, and I hope that people will get on that page and share it and like it and follow our story. We found out yesterday that I found out that my son will not be able to have any lessened sentence in federal prison because of the way the judge sentenced him. He has to do the full year. We're disappointed in that, but we expect and acknowledge that my son has accepted responsibility for taking 6 photos when he was in. He's serving his time, and I'm proud of him. As many have said, I'm proud of his service and who he is as an American.
Let's take a look at, so these are the photos that your son took in the submarine. What happened to him after this, and what are these pictures of? Did he ever share them?
Right, so I can't see them from where I'm at, but I'm expecting that you're putting up the photos that were disclosed during the sentencing hearing. So he took photos, 6 of them in a classified area. One thing I want to state is in 2009, when those photos were taken, there was no cell phone ban on submarines during that time. Many other sailors were taking photos as well. Actually, 2 sailors were brought to light during the sentencing time that they received a reduction in rank and a fine of $550. and one of them has now been recently promoted to an officer position. So there's obviously a double standard within the military as well.
Did what Hillary Clinton...
My son did not share those photos.
He didn't share those photos, and he also destroyed them. Is what Hillary Clinton did, in your mind, worse than what your son did?
They're both mishandling classified information. Both of them had classified information on an Insta device. My son's was at the lowest level of classification, 6 photos, Hillary Clinton, multiple emails that were transmitted to who knows where and who knows who saw those photos. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she's dangerous. She's dangerous to our national security, and she is definitely unsafe and dangerous to the United States of America if she were to become President of the United States.
All right, Kathleen Saucier, mother of the sailor, Petty Officer First Class Christian Saucier, who's doing 1 year in federal prison for those 6 photos. Kathleen, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Clayton. Please pray for our family. God bless America.
Thanks so much, Kathleen.
The American people deserve to get the full and complete facts immediately. The director himself has said he doesn't know whether the emails referenced in his letter are significant or not. I'm confident, whatever they are, will not change the conclusion reached in July.
Hillary Clinton, of course, demanding the FBI Director, James Comey, release all the documents related to the new email investigation we learned about yesterday.
And joining us now to react, Florida Congressman Ron DeSantis. He's a member of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and he joins us this morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
So Hillary Clinton says she wants all of these documents released. She wants everything out there public because there's nothing significant here. Do you think that James Comey would reopen this investigation if there was nothing significant there?
No, I mean, there were very significant things that we thought should have been actionable to begin with, and he said the case is over, we're moving on. He testified before the Judiciary Committee in September, and there were members actually asking him, will you reopen it given this? And he basically said no, no, no. So now the fact that he took this step, I think, is very significant.
Well, where does this go from here? Because people are deciding who they're going to vote for, and if it ends up being Hillary Clinton, this could play out for a very long time. We don't know what the outcome will ultimately be. As people are trying to make up their minds, where do you see this investigation going? How should they be thinking about it? Because that is a big deal when you're thinking about who's our next president.
I think it's very unlikely that there will be resolution before the election. And so people can go into the voting booth, know that this is something that's hanging over her head, not only the emails, but then the link with Anthony Weiner, which makes it even more unseemly. And so that's just the reality of the situation.
So if you had information that you were afraid of, that it might fall into the hands of a foreign government, do you think Anthony Weiner's laptop is an appropriate place to store it?
No, and I think that that's one of the frustrations about this whole thing is that you're talking about top secret information that I'm not allowed as a member of Congress with a top secret clearance. I'm an officer in the Navy Reserve. I'm not even allowed to view some of these because I don't have the right to know that. And that ends up on private servers and potentially with Anthony Weiner. And here's the thing. A military official, enlisted guy, officer, if they would have allowed that to happen, set up a parallel communication system with top secret information, they would have faced court-martial without question.
Right.
What happens now for Huma Abedin?
Well, I think that this whole thing, I mean, say Hillary does get elected, there's a cloud overhead, her whole inner circle potentially she would want him to be a part of the White House, give him security clearance. There'll be a huge fight in Congress over that. I'm sorry, the average person who would have handled this information the way they did, they would not be entrusted with classified information in the future.
Yeah.
4 different devices that they seized from her that, you know, email communication, tens of thousands of emails between her, Anthony Weiner, all of this information on those devices. That's troubling.
Oh, yeah, without question. Well, I mean, you don't set up a parallel communication system knowing the type of information that you're dealing with on the State Department, and they made a conscious decision. That's why some of the Comey initial findings were frustrating. He said, well, look, there was classified information, shouldn't have been there, should have known better, but there was no real intent here, and we're thinking about, what are you talking about? She intentionally set up this parallel system and knowing what would end up being put over that transom.
So not to sum up, you don't think that Anthony Weiner's involvement is reassuring?
No.
Okay, Congressman, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Good day.
Right,
Dana Perino is here to help us right this ship this morning.
Help us.
Great. I mean, that's a tall order.
It is a tall order.
They didn't tell me I was responsible for that.
Can you do it?
Ship writing?
So Republicans are super excited this morning, of course. They
Cartwheels down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Right. It may not even just be about Donald Trump, but these down-ballot candidates. How big of a deal
Well,
is this?
I do think that's, I think it's true that we don't know what's in them. It's true that Comey was very vague. It's true that Democrats are excited and that, that Republicans are excited and Democrats are like, what in the heck are you doing, Comey? So separate that out. I actually think that Republican candidates in some of these battleground states, like the ones that were getting very close, Missouri, Indiana, Pennsylvania, this will help them a lot in the last 10 days because instead of having to talk about Donald Trump all the time, they can just focus all of their attention on the Democrats and Hillary, and they can say to their opponent, you tell me why you support Hillary Clinton. Are you comfortable with this?
So
and it changes the topic for them going into
Well, that's
election day.
exactly right. And it reminds all of us that Carlos Danger is not just this embarrassing tabloid figure, but he was, in effect, part of the inner circle because he's married to Hillary Clinton's closest
Can I
aide.
tell you, so yesterday, I tend to think of things through a press secretary lens.
Yes.
So yesterday, I see the news break. I'm like, wow, that is a big deal. About an hour later, Gutfeld sends an email to the 5 team. And it's the information about Anthony Weiner, that this is connected to the sexting. And I belly laughed so hard, just because it's like an episode of Veep.
You can't make it up.
No, you could not. And as a press secretary, you can imagine that they were like, I'm going to need a raise.
And you saw Joe Biden's reaction to it when he heard. He was live doing an interview, and he said, oh, I didn't hear this. Oh, gosh.
And
oh, gosh. He didn't know what to say.
And as press secretary, you have to have reporters holding, like, up the front page of the New York Post. Now, this is not something you want to have to see with 10 or 11 days left in the election.
I had a friend email me last night and says, how do you explain this election to somebody from overseas? That don't know Anthony Weiner.
Or outer space.
And doesn't read the New York Post.
Fair. Is
I
she
love the
going to have
Post.
to fire Uma Abedin because, as Tucker mentioned, now they're all sort of involved in this? She's been Hillary Clinton's closest aide for years.
I saw Carl mention that. I don't know, because they've weathered the storm thus far. One of the things that one source inside, the problem is we don't have enough information, so much of this is speculative. That makes me a little uncomfortable. But they've weathered the storm thus far. And if the emails are duplicates of what they've already seen, does she need to resign or be fired? I would say no. I don't know. I don't have enough information to say whether she actually is a distraction, and if that even helps Hillary at this point.
So NBC is saying that there's, she's not in any of these emails.
Right.
We don't know any of that.
We don't know anything.
This is all on Twitter. Is it, and I don't know anything more than anyone else knows, but is it plausible that, it would seem very reckless to me that Comey would do this unless there was something real at the heart of it, right?
Well, yes, and I worked at the Justice Department for about almost a little under a year, right after 9/11, so got a little taste of how they operate in terms of very cautious.
Yes.
But I also don't know what was going on internally at the FBI.
Right.
So, and how much they had enough to look at. And I'm sympathetic to the idea that what if they have this whole tranche of emails, they go to him and they say, boss,
what are you
look
gonna do
at
with
this? And if he sat on it and didn't say anything until after the election, he's also
clearly he made that
trouble.
decision.
And Ron Hosko was on, I don't know if you caught him earlier on
No.
the show, former assistant director of the FBI, and what he said is he worked with Comey, of course, and he said, look, the guy, he doesn't say mother may I. He doesn't have the White House calling him asking for a favor. He'll do what he's going to do on his own without people calling him and telling him what to do. And he said it's very likely that there could have been FBI agents that came to him with these concerns, and he wanted to be as transparent as possible.
Right. It's interesting. There's a rare moment of agreement between the Trump and the Clinton campaign. Yesterday, Mike Pence tweeted, we think that Comey should release all the emails. We get it all out there. And that's what John Podesta from the Hillary campaign said, too. Let's just see it all. So it is a little ironic that Hillary Clinton is calling for full transparency at this point. But I think if I were in their position, I would ask for the same thing.
I would do the same thing.
No matter what's in it. Just let the chips fall where they may.
Do you want politicians influencing the course of a criminal investigation, no matter what? I mean, obviously, it's inopportune for voters, for all of us, to have this drop right before an election. On the other hand, isn't there a higher concern that a criminal investigation remains pristine and uninfluenced by?
Well, let's just say, if the shoe were on the other foot, and it was Republicans in that position, would we all be saying the same thing?
I
think the answer is no.
I'm just saying, but isn't our high,
yes, ultimately,
what we care about most is justice, right?
Well, especially, look, but the justice, especially in that case, is about Anthony Weiner having texting of a sexual nature with a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
That is crime.
Right.
Okay, that's that. And now it's separate. They find ancillary evidence from a computer that has to do with an investigation that's never closed. I can see where the Clinton campaign is saying, you have to give us more information to go on 11 days before an election. This is not Venezuela.
Right.
Right.
So you've talked a lot about the importance of the independent vote and how they're ultimately going to decide the outcome of this election. When you look at this past week for Hillary Clinton, whether it's this WikiLeaks dumps, the Obamacare premiums going up, or this email investigation being reopened, what do you think impacts people the most?
Oh, probably Obamacare, and then maybe this. But also there was a Clinton corruption questions, right? The memo that goes from Doug Band of Teneo to all the clients saying, hey, I'm going to be able to get all this money for access to Bill Clinton that I have. But here's the other thing for Democrats, like they cannot buy a break this week because the GDP numbers come in yesterday at the highest they've been in a long time, 2.9% for the third quarter. That didn't even get a blip on the radar screen. And I would imagine that President Obama is pulling what's left of his hair out.
No headlines today on that.
But we have 2.9% growth. We should get some credit, and they're not going to be able to. No one's going to talk about anything for about 10 days. But I do think that Comey is going to have to say something more. Maybe it's not going to be the full information, but people are going to, and people deserve more information, or else we're just going to speculate for 10 days.
Well, you've been super busy.
That.
You've been super busy this whole campaign season. You've got a new TV show, you've got new podcasts, you've been traveling like crazy, but you also wrote a brand new book.
Yes.
So you needed to take some time out to spend some time with the dog.
There's Jasper.
It's been a good distraction. Let me tell you about Jasper. We'll bring him on the set someday for you. It's a story about my love affair with dogs my whole life, growing up on the ranch and then all the way up to this crazy dog that's been with us at Fox News for 4.5 years. And the back half of it is these Photoshop galleries, which I think is modern art, done by a guy named 5Fan Photoshop that I met on Twitter. He is exceedingly humble and is staying behind the scenes and anonymous. And I think we have another picture that he did just for you.
Well, he's a beautiful dog.
Really? Yeah, let's see. I think this is... There he is. The three of you interviewing Jasper on set, so I'll make sure to get you a print out of that.
You're so good with dogs.
I love
You are good with dogs.
I love dogs.
Do you know he has a girl dog named Dave?
Yes, I've never understood that.
In that interview...
Dave sleeps in the bed.
In that interview, when Jasper was on the show, we really got to the heart of the matter.
We really did.
We really drilled deep down.
What is he going to be for Halloween, by the way?
Captain America.
Okay.
And we're going to Madison, Connecticut today to R.J. Julia, an independent bookstore up there, and so he gets to go with me.
So America's dog is Captain America.
Go out and buy the book. Your last book was a big hit. Let me tell you about Jasper.
Thank you.
It's now out.
And go on your Instagram because I follow you and you have the best photos of your dog. Every day it makes my day.
My wife always says to me, nobody wants to see pictures of your dog, and I pointed to your book as evidence that's not true.
Or yeah, Dana's Instagram, which is
I like your wife. She's tough.
She's married to this guy. Gotta be.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dana.
Great to see you.